Today, we're going to talk about how to get out of a dog trainer business slump. And if you're experiencing something like that, or if you have in the past, don't be too hard on yourself. The thing about it, even the best dog trainers, the most successful dog trainers, sometimes have slow times and get into a slump. And it's something I've even noticed in our coaching programs where we'll have a dog trainer and they'll go through one of our coaching programs and they'll go from struggling to doing amazing, and like their business is going great and they have a wait list and everything is just going as good as they could have possibly imagined. But then they'll call us back sometime in the future and they'll say, you know what? I don't know what's happened. Everything just stopped working. I'm not getting any calls. People are ghosting me. I'm getting a lot of no's. And it's just like everything that used to work just suddenly stopped working. And it's really upsetting because you can feel like that. You can feel like, I don't know what to do. Everything just stopped working. At the end of the video, I'm going to tell you the reason why that usually happens. There's usually one thing that they're doing wrong, and I'll tell you what that is. But what I really wanted to do is give you like a 3-step guide on what you can do if you're struggling. What is the attack plan? So things are going really bad and you just don't know what to do. So we're going to go step 1, 2, 3. And this is what I would recommend that you do if you want to turn around your struggles quickly and go from struggling to really successful. The thing you need to keep in mind is that it's very possible to even have one of your worst months ever, and then the next month or the month after have one of your best months ever. And it's happened to us in the past, and it happens a lot of times. Like, it's very common where you can go from a terrible month and then suddenly have a great month. But you really need to focus on these 3 things that we're going to talk about in this video, and they really work. And whenever I'm coaching a dog trainer and they're like really panicked, like justifiably, because they might have staff to pay, bills to pay, to maintain their income, and they're like, I need to do something. Like, I can't go any more months like struggling like this. And when they really need to turn it around, this is what I tell them. And it, as far as I remember, it always works. Like, they always see some improvement, and sometimes like a dramatic improvement from applying the things that I'm going to tell you about. The first thing, number 1, is you need to understand that there is something that you can do about it. That the things that you do in your business, the way you interact with people, the offers that you make them, the way you listen to them, like all these things have a direct result in how they respond. So view everything in your business as something that's under your control. Now, there's things that are not in your control. So you might be saying the economy is really bad, or in this time of year, people don't take any action because it's the winter, or there's a whole bunch of new dog trainers that moved in, so there's all this competition and they're charging less than me and it's frustrating. So all those things, they might be 100% true. But the reality is none of it matters because you can't control those things. So you need to control the things you can control, and you need to realize that it will make a difference. The actions you take and the changes you make in your business will have a direct result in your income, how many clients you have, the type of clients you have. And the thing that's great about a dog training business is that you can make these changes very quickly. So for example, your offers. So if you go from charging by the hour and then you switch into maybe offering programs to someone that are a lot more money than charging by the hour, you might see a change in your business from one consultation to the next. Like, the very next person you speak to is the next opportunity you have to do things differently. And you'll get an instant benefit from it, an instant change. If you change your website, the very next person that shows up on your website, it'll have an impact on that person. So the changes that you make in your dog training business have a very instant effect. And that's a good thing, because that's how you can go from having a terrible month to a great month, one month to the next. So keep that in mind, that there is something you can do about it. And you have to have that mentality that even if the struggles that you're going through, even if they're not your fault, there are things that you can do and they will make a difference. So that's very empowering to realize that things are in your control, and they really are in your control when it comes to marketing your dog training business. So that's step 1, realizing that things are in your control, probably a lot more than you realize. Step 2 is to make the most of every person that contacts you. And what will often happen is when things are going and you're busy, you will often take some shortcuts in your business. And I'm actually completely okay with that, because you can afford to at the time if things are really busy. Over time, these shortcuts and these automations, things like that, they tend to erode at your business. And it's often a gradual thing because you're making the changes over time. You're not like completely changing everything the way you do about it, but little by little, you make your life a little bit easier by making things a little bit harder for people to become your client. So some of the ways this might happen is, number one, by automating things. So when you're slow and you need to make the most of each person, you want to make personal one-to-one contact with people, not automated emails or schedulers. You want everything to be done personally because that's what has the best effect. That will work the best. So it's hustling. Like you need to do more work, but you will be able to get more people to become your clients. And you might be getting less people. Like that might be the problem. Less people are contacting you. And that's something you can work on. But for the immediate situation, this is the amount of people that you have, and you need to make the most of each one of them. So you want to follow up with them a lot. And I just did a training on this with our Peak group not too long ago. And we talked about following up and like how many times you should follow up. There's no set in stone rule for it. But if you're struggling and you're only following up maybe like one time when someone contacts you for training and then you send them one message and you're like, oh, they ghosted me. I don't know where they went. Maybe you could follow up more times, even 3, 4, 5 or more times. It might be okay if you're struggling and you need to make the most of each person. Same thing with when you're selling. So if people need to think about it, do you follow up? And you'd be surprised because some dog trainers, when they're in that situation and they present their offer to the dog owner and they're like, I need a little time to think about it. And you say, oh, that's okay. And you don't have a system to follow up with that person. You're not making the most of each person that's contacting you. So what I like to do is I like to put myself in the shoes of a dog owner. And this is one thing that I do when I'm working with a dog trainer to try to see like where the holes are in their business is I'll actually go on their website and I'll go through the process that a dog owner would go to and go through and see all the steps that it would take in order to become a client. And you need to do that because you might realize that there is like friction or there's boundaries that you've put up, things that make it harder for them to become a client. And you want it to be as easy as possible. You want that road from they don't know you to becoming your client. You want that road to be super smooth. And you might have bumps in it. And those bumps will cause you to lose them along the way. So if you can go through the experience and you can see like, what does it take for them to contact you? Like, how does it all work? Like, how does it make them feel? Is it unnecessarily difficult? Or is it easy? Here's another way you can make it easier for them. If you have a contact form and you have name and maybe the dog's name and explanation of the situation and does the dog have a vaccination record and the town you live in and your phone number and email address, and there's all these forms, you are making things difficult for people. So if you have a form that they need to fill out in order to contact you, sometimes you could reduce it to just the bare minimum that you need. Maybe it's just name and contact information, something like that. Just maybe 2 things. Now, the more you have, the more hoops they have to jump through. You might think, is it really a big deal that I'm asking them what's the name of the dog? It is a big deal because the more things they have to do, the more likely it is that they'll just lose interest and give up and be like, I don't want it to be hard. I want everything to be easy and simple. So make it easy and simple for them. So in the contact forms, that's a really good one. If you can reduce it, you will increase the conversion rate on your website. This has been proven and tested. So you want to make everything as easy as possible, every step of the way, and mentally and physically go through the process that they would go through. And then you'll start to notice some of the things that you can smooth out so that you'll get more people becoming your clients. So the third thing is simplifying your business. And over time, your business likely has become more and more complicated. So when you're struggling, one thing you can do is reverse engineer the situation, to go back to the beginning and imagine, how can I run my business in the most simple way? Now, the things that make a dog training business successful are not complicated things. They're the simple things. They're the fundamentals. Those 4 things are your advertising, so that people can find you exist, your website, so that you can turn the people who find you into leads and they'll contact you, and your sales process, so you know how to communicate the benefits of what you do. Then you have your programs, the thing that you're actually going to be selling them, the thing they're going to be buying. Those are the 4 main parts of your dog training business when it comes to marketing. Those are the things you need to concentrate on. And mostly all the really important things will fall into one of those categories. What tends to happen is when someone's struggling, they think, I need to add something. I need to add more services. I need to increase the amount of offers I have. I need to use some new software that I hadn't used before. But it's like something that's adding, something that makes it more complicated. The solution is almost always to remove things and make things simpler. Simpler businesses work better. So think about things in that way. What can I do to go back to basics and work on the fundamentals to improve my business? It's almost, that makes me think of an athlete. So if there is an athlete that's struggling and they have a coach, the coach will almost always tell them to go back to the basics, to go back to the fundamentals. It's like, what is your motion like when you're throwing the ball? Like, how are you standing? It's the same types of principles that you would probably teach a 10 or 12-year-old, and you would be going over them with a professional athlete, because even their fundamentals can get out of whack. And when you start over from the beginning and reset and do things right from the beginning like that, it has a really positive effect on your business when it comes to getting more clients and turning things around. So take a fresh look at your business and just, what can I simplify? What can I eliminate? What can I lighten to make my business like more efficient? So work on those things like efficiency. And the areas you want to really focus on are those 4 things: your advertising, your website, your programs, your offers, and the way you sell. Those are the things that make the biggest difference. I remember I was talking to a dog trainer, and she is absolutely amazing, has like an extremely successful business. And she was struggling though. And I was trying to figure out why and what is the issue here, and asking a bunch of questions. And what I realized is that she was doing some of these things. Like, she just kept adding and adding. And she was telling me how, yeah, when I do my sales process, I show them this video, and then we do this, and then there's another step here. And there was just a lot of things that got added that seemed like good ideas at the time. And maybe they're not terrible ideas, but the problem is it just made everything too complicated. And when people are confused or things are too hard, they will be less likely to buy. And that's what happened. And when she simplified things and just removed things, it made her life easier. Things picked back up and they went right back to where they were. A lot of dog trainers are relieved when I tell them that there's a lot of things you're doing that if you actually stopped doing them, it might help you become more successful in your business. So that's a nice thought to have. So simplicity is really important. So those are the 3 steps that you can take if you're struggling. So the first is that you need to realize that there is something that you can do about it, that the results of your business, most of it is directly within your control, and there's a cause and effect here. If you do one thing, another thing will happen. The second thing is to make the most of each person. And over time, you can try to get more people. So that's important too, is getting more people so that you can go through the process with them. But just making the most of every person you have when you have less people is really important. And number 3, simplifying your business, getting rid of things you don't need so that things are more efficient and that you can focus on the things that really make the biggest difference. So earlier I was telling you about how some of our students, they do great in the beginning, and then often we won't hear from them for a while because they're doing great. They're busy with their business and their life and their family and everything's going amazing. And then we'll get a message and it's, oh, I don't know what's happened. Everything just dried up. I'm just getting nothing. This is almost always what's happened. So years ago, we used to make this delicious chicken meatball recipe, and chicken meatballs don't sound that great, but the way this recipe was, like, they were absolutely amazing. Had like sauce and cheese on it, and we loved it. And we'd always make this recipe. Then over time, we realized that things just weren't as good as they used to be. Like, the texture of the meatballs wasn't that great. The flavor just didn't seem right. And we just liked it less and less. And we're like, why is the recipe not working? What is wrong? Why isn't this food as good as it used to be? So we went back to the original recipe and realized that what we had done over time is make a lot of substitutions and taken some shortcuts. And we weren't measuring anymore. We were just eyeballing everything. So the proportions were all off. And the recipe we were actually making at that time, it didn't really resemble the original formula, the original recipe. And so when we went back and made it the way it was supposed to be made, of course, it was the way it was supposed to taste. Everything was really perfect. And that's what happens with dog trainers. So you learn all the things that we teach in our programs. You create your program, dog training programs, your sales process, everything. And it's really good. And you have a lot of success. And then over time, the formula starts to drift a little bit and you do things a little bit differently. And this is all without realizing it. That's why dog trainers are surprised and they're like, I don't know what's happened. Things, they're just not as good as they used to be. And what happens is, like, it starts drifting a little bit. And then when you just change too many things, it just drops off. Like it's just too much strain on the system and you just stop getting clients. And almost always, when they reevaluate their business and compare it to the original formula, the stuff that we taught them in our coaching program, everything starts working again because they're doing it the way they originally learned, which worked. And what they had developed over time were a lot of bad habits and substitutions and eyeballing things and taking shortcuts and everything. And sometimes you just need to get back to the beginning, back to basics. And that's why even super, super smart dog trainers who are just so talented and amazing, their business kind of goes like this. It goes up and down, and then it's really good for a while, and then there's a drop off and it goes up. So it's completely normal to have that happen, and you will avoid it if you stick to the original formula, the things that work for you, and you don't take too many shortcuts and liberties with making things hard for your clients. If you want more help with this, just go to makeitasadogtrainer.com, and there's all kinds of free information and great tips that you can learn and will help you avoid a lot of these struggles that I'm talking about. But if you do get into the struggles, there is something you can do. Follow those 3 steps. It works, it's great, and it will help you get out of your struggles.